Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our brand new series of planets through nakshatras. And today we are going to be talking about Saturn through Ashwani Nakshatra and what happens when Saturn is in the nakshatra of Ashwani in your horoscope. And Ashwani is a nakshatra that is working behind the scenes of the zodiac sign of Aries. So from 0 to 13.20 degrees of Aries is ruled by Ashwani. And now Saturn is sitting in Aries, but in these degrees where Ashwani Nakshatra resides. So whatever Saturn does in the sign of Aries, it's also abiding by the laws and rules of Ashwani Nakshatra. And as always, if you do not know where your Saturn is placed, what nakshatra it's in, what degrees it's at, so you can see which padha it's in the Ashwani Nakshatra. For all your astrological details, for that, check out the links here. Check out my full astrological report, including my books, Astrology, Conjunction, Aspects, and Mahadashas at the Speed of Light, including all my consultations and readings at this link. So, Saturn in Ashwani Nakshatra. Ashwani is a nakshatra that is known as the physicians to the gods. Okay? It's known as the physicians to the gods. They're the medicine man, healers, healthcare practitioners, Ayurvedic doctors, race car drivers, tarot card readers, veterinarians, mystics. It's a very holistic nakshatra. It's a nakshatra that represents the birth of these twins through Surya's wife Sanjana. And these were the guys who went around the village, who went around different places healing people. The Ashwin twins were known to just give somebody who has a severed hand a new hand. Somebody who doesn't have eyes, give him the new eyes. And this is a nakshatra that is symbolized by horse. Why horse? Because of the fact horse is the ride of the sun. Because remember, sun is on a chariot of 7 horses. So horse represents the power within us to keep pushing forward towards our goal. Horse represents, remember when Dr. Arjun Pai came, it's the horse power. This is why these guys are in racing. These guys are in, fast cars. However, you're putting now Saturn here. Saturn is the rejected son of Sun. So the Surya, the sun, the planet sun in astrology, Saturn is Sun's son, but he's rejected. He was created through Chaya. It's a whole mythological story. But what is Saturn, first of all? Saturn represents, our duty, our commitment, our sacrifice. It's our discipline, structure, organization skills. Saturn represents the public, the servants. Saturn represents, doing the administrative work. So when Saturn is in Ashwani Nakshatra, the first thing you will notice is that if you have, say, especially in India, you have servants in your house who come in. You will notice that they have a major problem with their father. If Saturn is in the ascendant or the 9th house in this situation, you yourself will have a major problem with your father. You'll feel rejected by your father. And you can take Saturn in any place. Saturn could be in the 11th house. Your elder sibling, if you have any, first of all, may feel rejected from the father and family. And one thing you have to understand, this is a nakshatra that does not signify the debilitation of Saturn. See, Saturn is debilitated at 20th degree of Aries. But Saturn, when it's in Aries, see, Sun is exalted in Aries. So imagine if your father had a favorite place to live. He had a favorite vacation home. He always liked that home. And you hate your father. and you are forced to go to that vacation home and stay there. Even though your father's not there, you're there. You're not going to feel comfortable, regardless of which degree of the house you're in. So, regardless of which degree Sun is in, Sun just does not feel comfortable. Because Sun feels like this is the place of the man that rejected me. And because Aries represents taking up a leadership role in life, being the sun, being the king. So when this person, the Saturn, comes into play, he said, I don't want to take this leadership role. It's stupid. I don't want to abide by the rules and give out rules and give out, orders to other people. I don't want to do that. So first of all, what happens is, especially with the fact that Ashwani has the Vata, their Ayurvedic Josha is Vata, and Saturn is also Vata. Anytime these people are put into position of leadership, they suddenly get anxiety, nervousness, they sweat. They feel like they will, if they took charge as a leadership role, they will ruin everything. Because this is why Saturn is exalted in Libra, because it likes to be amongst the working class, amongst the merchants, business people. So it can negotiate. It can make a deals. In Aries, now Saturn is getting all the attention. And Saturn is a very introverted planet. So especially in Ashwani Nakshatra, this person wants to dedicate themselves. And without taking a leadership role, they want to dedicate themselves to healing poor people, taking care of the poor people. They do not want to get all the prestige, that image that, hey, I am doing all this great work as a healer. Because remember, Ashwani is a nakshatra of healers. But Saturn here shows that one who goes into healing ends up either healing people who are very old, because Saturn is an old planet, or they tend to they gravitate towards healing people who are poor, unprivileged, the servant class, because that is who Saturn is. These people become mechanics in a garage, like car mechanics, because Saturn is mechanical knowledge. How are the mechanics of some things work? So if Mars is engineering, Saturn represents mechanics. So because Ashwani is a nakshatra, that also represents interest in racing and cars. These are the people who like to be in a working position fixing the car. And because Saturn is a slow-moving planet, Saturn is a planet that limps, you will notice that you always, or wherever the Saturn plays, let's say Saturn is in the 6th house, in Aries in Ashwani Nakshatra, your mother's younger sibling probably limps or always has problem in the legs, and they're always going to doctor for something related to their legs. Because remember, Saturn represents joints and legs. So because 6th house represents 3rd from the 4th house of your mother's siblings, you'll notice that your mother's siblings, some sort of always tend to have chronic problems, and they always like to go to alternative healers. Like they don't like to go to regular doctors. They want to go to Ayurvedic doctor. They want to go to some naturopathic doctor. If, let's say, Saturn is in the 4th house in Aries, in Ashwani Nakshatra, which I've seen, your mother will limp. She may walk a little, limpy or not straight. So, because remember, Saturn is a planet that limps. Now, also one thing you have to remember with Saturn in Ashwani Nakshatra is that these people are very impatient. They're very impatient. They're very restless. This is why, especially when you have Saturn in Ashwani Nakshatra, and if you have impulsiveness towards driving fast, do not do it. I don't care how badly you want to be a race car driver. I don't care how badly you're trying to get to your place or you have the sporty car, do not drive fast because Saturn impulsiveness. Because Saturn is debilitated and that impulsiveness is racing, Saturn does not have the brain to understand the things around it when it's trying to be rushed. Kind of like when you're at, like I was giving you the father analogy, your father's vacation home, which is your debilitated place. You're gonna feel irritated, you're not gonna think properly, you're gonna wanna try to get out, you're gonna wanna be outside doing something because you feel irritated, but you're forced to be there karmically. Also, Saturn and Ashwani Nakshatra people love to be farmers. Like either they love agriculture, they love farming, they love growing plants, because remember, Saturn is manual labor. Ashwani, it represents herbs, which grows from under the ground. Saturn, which represents things that are buried underground, especially in Ashwani Nakshatra, they like to sow seeds that can grow. And so the manual labor of Saturn comes into play here. So this doesn't mean that if just because you have Ashwani Nakshatra, you'll be a Saturn with a doctor or a physician or Ayurvedic doctor. No, you could be simply a botanist. I hope I'm right. Botanist, somebody who knows the understanding of planting seeds and plants themselves. So that comes into play. And especially you will notice physicians with this nakshatra, they always find the quickest way to deal with the patient. Like let's say if you're having some infection in the leg, and if this doctor has this Saturn Ashwani Nakshatra, they'll be like, the easiest way to deal with this is to amputate the leg. Okay, well, I'll just amputate it. Because remember, Saturn is a karka of death. It's a karka of ending. So a doctor will be like, how do I end this? Okay, just cut it off, get rid of it. Where some other person, let's say Moon with Ashwani Nakshatra, Venus is Ashwani Nakshatra, will be taking care, nurturing that patient's leg. Like, what is the way that I don't have to amputate that leg? Maybe if we did this and I cut this part of the leg out, maybe that will save it and then I can save the leg, whatever. So these are the things that you have to understand about, especially with Saturn when it's traveling to Ashwani Nakshatra. Because remember, Saturn is patience. Saturn is a slow planet. Here you're putting Saturn, slowness, patience on a horse. Now go with it. And Saturn already has a limp leg. So it irritates Saturn that he has to go so fast. And obviously one of the best way to calm this thing down is to do pranayam, do Kriya Yoga, and calm this Saturn down in Ashwani. Especially Ashwani is a nakshatra which signifies twins, signifies dual energy. And Ashwani was a nakshatra, Ashwin twins were the very helpful twins. They just helped people out of the goodness of their heart. Saturn here gets irritated when they are forced to do something. They do not want to always heal people. They don't want to always deal with people's problems. Saturn is not a nice planet. Saturn is a cold planet. So this Saturn gets pretty much the sign of Aries. Saturn will be irritated. So that's what Saturn does in the nakshatra of Ashwani. And regardless, where the Saturn is, if somehow Saturn impacts your sun and your 9th house or your 9th lord, you will always have some sort of an issue with the father. Or you will feel like you weren't really raised properly by the father. So you just use that mythological story in the practical world. Okay? So guys, this was my analysis of Saturn in the nakshatra of Ashwani. If you're new to my channel, subscribe below. Again, if you want to know where your Saturn is placed all your astrological details, my books, reports, consultation. For that, click here. Otherwise, we'll see you tomorrow with Sun in the second house for Libra, Sun and people. Bye bye.